nobody stop what the Most High put together. We gon' see. In times.
Serpents lurking, watchers watching, Yasharala stay on point.
They lurking.
We under the covenant, we ain't got no other choice. Gird your loins up, armor up, cause it's time for war. We the generation that's gon' get on one accord. Serpents lurking, watchers watching, Yasharala stay on point.
Got real
We
now.
under the covenant, we ain't got no other choice. Gird your loins up, armor up, cause it's time for war.
Importance of the dowry in African traditional marriage setting. The importance of the dowry in African traditional marriage setting. Firstly, so what's a dowry? A dowry can easily be translated as a form of payment, usually in monetary terms, or maybe it could even be an exchange of gifts, as a form of compensation for a bride, or usually the bride, but in some cases it's also the groom. So in some parts of the world, it's the groom's family that actually receive the dowry from the bride's family. Just imagine if that was the case in Africa. that would be very, very interesting, wouldn't it? Anyways, like I said, the dowry is still been practiced. The dowry system is still been practiced in different parts of the world. The Sub-Saharan Africa being the obvious place, and also in some parts of Asia, and even in Eastern Europe, they're still practicing the dowry system. Like I said, in some parts of the world, in some places like in Asia, it's the other way around, and also even in historically in England, it was the bride's family that was actually paying the dowry to the groom's family. So the dowry is very, very important in African culture, because this is what actually binds the husband, the groom and the bride together, because of the importance and the significance of the dowry. In South Africa, for example, it's known as the lobola. The lobola is basically a form of payment with cattle, and in exchange for the bride. And also in Tanzania, it's called mahari. In Nigeria, where I'm from, amongst the Igbo tribe, they call it Ikponu Akuwanyi. I hope I said that right. Ikponu Akuwanyi. And down to the Yoruba tribe, which I'm from, is known as Owori. So basically, Owo means money and Ori means head. So it's literally translated into the money on your head, or the price on your head, or something like that, the price of your head. If you're trying to give it the literal translation. So basically, like I said, the dowry is very, very important, because it's a symbol that actually binds the groom to the agreement, because obviously it's going to take a lady from a family. So it's a form of compensation for that lady, because obviously that lady, she would have been tending to the historically she would have been tending to the cattle, taking care of the home, taking care of younger ones or her siblings and things of that nature. So this dowry was a form of compensation for that loss of labor that she was doing, all the work that she was doing, and also the cattle and the livestock obviously were also meant to compensate and also provide a source of food. So it was a very good thing for you to get a dowry in exchange for your daughter in those days. Even till now, anyways, in some places there's still very, very high significance value placed on the dowry system. So historically in Sub-Saharan Africa, the dowry system was born out of a livestock and agricultural based economy, which your status and your wealth were actually determined by the number of cattle that you had, the size of the head of cattle that you had, and things of that nature. So basically the size of the cattle, of the cattle head that you had, showed how rich you were, and obviously it was beneficial for you to be able to show your prospective bride's family that you come from a very wealthy family, and you'll be able to take care of her properly. So also we should also remember that the historical importance of the dowry, because in the olden days the dowry was actually used as a form of punishment if the man ever manhandled the bride. If he ever treated her wrongly, he would have been asked to pay, to increase is dowry for her and things of that nature. So at this point, I would like to hear your thoughts. Most of you watching, you're Africans. Some of you are married. So how much was your dowry? If you don't mind me asking, can you just drop your comments? In the comments box. I'd like to find out. So what do you think? Do you think the dowry system is still important? Do you think it's still relevant? Is this in this modern day and age? So I'd like to know your thoughts. I'd like to see your comments as well. So please do leave your comments. Do you think the dowry system is still relevant? Because I personally think it still does. Even though in some places it's just ceremonial these days. But I'm telling you, like for example, like the Igbo culture, the Igbo tribe, where the Igbo tribe of Nigeria, they place such a great emphasis and huge importance and value on the dowry. You should see some of the list of dowry, even amongst the Yorubas. Like there's a lot of things that have been demanded. Money, alcohol, clothes, yams, cassava, palm oil, things, anything, like you see, if you see some of the list of dowry these days, you'll just bust out laughing because there's such like so many money, interesting and funny, demanding, demands and all that. So I'd like to know what your thoughts are, what your views are. Do you think the dowry still has any relevance in modern day African culture and society? Let me know your thoughts, because I think that it still does anyway. I think the dowry is a very, very important tool in actually upholding our African culture and traditions, our customs. So I think it should be respected, and it should still it should definitely not lose its relevance in modern day African culture and society. That being said, I think it's also important for men to understand the meaning of the dowry. The dowry doesn't mean that you to ill-treat her. This is somebody's daughter. This is you want to respect her. You want to make sure you treasure her. You treat her like a queen. She's not your slave. She's meant to be your helpmate. So just make sure you honor that dowry, because this is someone that's been she's been raised by a family for years. They've nurtured her. They've invested in her. Not for you to start ill-treating. So treating her as don't treat her as like a slave or anything. Make sure you cherish her. Make sure you love her. And let's continue as African brothers. It's very important that we continue to instill our strong moral African values, our strong customs. The African culture always instills in us great discipline, respect, value, and a great sense of identity. So we need to keep on, upholding our African cultures. So
what counts as marriage according to the scripture? So now, we just need to understand what needs to be done for you to be considered married in the Bible.
Genesis 29 verses 16 to 21. And Laban had two daughters, and the name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel.
So Laban's got two daughters, right? So the focus here is we've got a father and he's got two daughters. Read on.
Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel thy younger daughter.
So you see, it's Jacob speaking to the father, okay, to get to marry Rachel. So a lot of people, when they want to get married, they think, oh, it's just they propose to the woman. It's all about the woman. The parents are like an afterthought. But we can see initially, the second that Jacob is attracted to Rachel and wants to marry her, who does he go to? Does he say, oh, Rachel, I want to marry you? No, he understands that marriage, you have to go to the father. He is the one that, is the one that's important to make sure you can marry. So read on, please.
And Laban, it is better that I give her to thee than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me.
So check this out. Laban said, it's better that I give her to thee. So what we need to understand is it's the power of the father to give his daughters in marriage. Okay, it's the father who gives his daughter to a man. All right. So if a young man is looking for marriage, you got to think, well, if I want to marry this woman, I'm going to need to get to know her dad. So you're going to have to be confident, because it can be intimidating to go to a woman's father and have to have this conversation. But at the same time, this also gives man the motivation that he needs to man up and to make sure that you're on point, because men know that a man will see right through you. You get me? Like, a man might be able to deceive a woman, as it shows you in Exodus 22 and 26. If you know that account, in different translations it says if he's deceived a woman. Because one verse says like he enticed her, but I think in the Hebrew also means deceive. Like, men can often deceive women to get what they want. But if she's being represented by her father's going to see what your intentions really are. Okay, so it's important for a man, if you're really taking a woman seriously, then you've got to seriously make sure that you're ready to go meet her dad, and you're making, you have that you're being real with him, and that you're going to be able to present yourself as a valid suitor, that you're going to have answers to when he's asking you, so why do you want to marry my daughter? What would you say makes you a good match for my daughter? How are you going to be able to provide for her, lead her, this, that, and the other? You're going to have to answer some real questions. You have to be really prepared, like a job interview kind of thing. So read on, please.
And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her.
Praise Yah. So this is also what proves that a man loves a woman enough to marry her, when he's willing to work for her. Like, a lot of men are only with women because the women have given like no requirement, like the woman is doing everything for the man. And it's not like the man has married her, it's not like the man has spoke to the father, it's nothing. It's just like he just gave her some words, and now she's just gave him her soul. Like, anything he wants, he has access to. Okay, but to motivate a man to really commit to a woman, what you got to do is make sure that the father is the one that sets the boundaries of what the man needs to do. Okay, because then the man's going to be like, okay, you know what I'm saying? You're going to see if he's willing to follow that, to do what the father has said. You get me? Yeah, willing. All right, next verse, please.
And Jacob said unto Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her.
Praise Yah. So yeah, Jacob is now saying to the father, give me my wife. So as we can see, he's getting the wife of the father, and now he has the woman based off him completing, the agreement. The father said, he said, look, I'm going to work 7 years. He's done that, and now the woman belongs to him. So that's how a young man has to get a wife, or anyone according to the scripture. You just have to meet the requirements of the father. You speak to the father, you say, I'd like to marry your daughter. He says, okay, you can marry my daughter providing you pay me this much money. Or he might just say, you know what, you can have my daughter. He might even not have a requirement, but you need to know where you stand. If you're taking a woman seriously and you have an eye and you're like, I want to marry this woman, well, your idea of marrying this woman is not realistic until you spoke to the father, because the father is going to set the parameters of what needs to be done to marry her. So in your mind, you might even be doing a bunch of things, getting this together, getting that together, which, logically, you should have certain things as the Bible would show. But what if these are not the requirements the father wants? And when it comes to time to meet the father, it's like it's something completely different. You're completely not prepared. And then your plans of marriage are not as realistic. So it's important, for a man, as soon as he's showing like this interest in wanting to marry a woman, it shouldn't take too long to go and speak to the father and understand what really needs to be done. Because we can see it wasn't long after Jacob saw Rachel and knew he wanted to marry her, that straight away he went to the dad and said, hey, I'm going to work for you for 7 years for your daughter. So yeah, man, that's what young men need to normalize, is if you're interested in marrying a woman, then that should be demonstrated by you going to speak to her father shortly after to understand what needs to be done to marry this man's daughter. So this is titled, The Man Must Build Up Rapport with her, or with the father. Bit of a typo. So the man must build up rapport with her father. And if Sister Asosa, if you can bring that one out, please.
Exodus 22, verse 16 to 14. It's 17. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed, and lie with her, he shall surely endure her to be his wife.
So this is saying if a man entices a woman, so if he basically, seduces a woman and she wasn't engaged to anybody, and now they lie together, now he's going to have to pay a dowry to make her his wife. And dow means to pay the dowry, right? So this shows that they weren't considered married just because they lay together. And now that they've laid together, he's done that, right? Now he has to commit to paying the dowry. Now he's like, now he's obligated to go to the father and pay the dowry. So, yeah, if we can read verse 17, please.
If her father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money accordingly to the dowry of the virgin.
So, yeah, thanks for that, sister. So now it's showing that, look, after, she's been laid with, the father might even refuse. He might even now refuse to even give you her to marry. So in that situation, the man might have thought, oh, I'm going to marry this woman. And then he's gone to the father and the father said no. So we can see how powerful the father is in marriage. So that's why it's very important for the man to, establish a relationship with the father and to build up rapport and respect in the eyes of the father, so that when it comes time to ask the father, I'd like to marry your daughter, what do I need to do? Like, he doesn't shoot you down, that he knows you and, he respects you and he's happy to give his daughter to you. Okay, because in this case, the man still even had to pay the dowry to compensate the father, but he doesn't get the wife. Okay, so yeah, if we can get the next verse, please, sister.
1 Samuel 18, verse 21. And Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David, and they told Saul, and the thing pleased him.
Okay, so now King Saul has a daughter, and she's attracted to David. Read on.
And Saul said, I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, Thou shalt this day be my son-in-law, and the one of the twain.
So there we can see that now it's the father again that will be giving the daughter to a husband. So yeah, it's important that the father is happy to give his daughter to you if you're seeking marriage. And let's see what happens next. Read on.
1 Samuel 18:25. And Saul said, Thus shall ye say to David, the king desireth not any dowry, but 100 foreskin of the Philistines, to be avenged of the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistine.
Praise Yah. So we can see here that the father is actually setting what is required to marry the daughter, and King Saul is saying to David, he doesn't want any dowry, no specified amount of money, but he wants 100 foreskins of the Philistines. So a father can set whatever he wants as a requirement to marry his daughter. And if you read this account, David was a bit intimidated by King Saul offering his daughter to him, because King David was basically saying, I'm not rich enough to be the son-in-law of a king. Like, he won't be able to pay a dowry, because he's thinking like, the king is going to offer me his daughter, but dowry is going to be expensive. How am I going to afford that? But then the king said to David, he doesn't want any dowry. You don't need to give him a bunch of money. He just wants him to go and get him these Philistine foreskins. And we could see in Genesis chapter 29, it was established that Jacob had to work for 7 years. So it just gives the understanding that whatever the father says is what goes. So it's very important to know the father of the woman you're looking to marry and understand what exactly his requirement is.
He gon' send his hand, destruction gotta come, that's how he get us out this lane. The devil working hard, trying to get us out his plane. His sheep hear his voice, so he can't get us out his hand. We gon' trust the son of man, blow your wings, father. Your kingdom coming, we just trying to make it in, father. Rather we